Hi, everybody. Will here with this month's episode of Coach's Corner with George Alston. So sit back and he's going to give you some lessons you're not going to forget, I hope.
Coach's Corner with Will Alexander and George Alston. Brought to you by ProPlan and K9 Farming.
Hey, everybody. Will here with another episode of Coach's Corner with the coach himself, George Alston. How's it going, George?
It's doing pretty good. I came through my heart procedure pretty good, and that was about 2 weeks ago, and I'm good to go.
Wouldn't expect anything less.
Yeah, you can't keep me down, man. Let me tell you.
Exactly. How's the weather down there right now?
It is cold. Not as cold as up where you are, but we're not used to 5 degrees, 4 degrees, that type of thing here in
You have
Paris.
snow?
We got 10 inches of snow.
Wow.
It was referred to as the blizzard of 25.
Wow, that's a lot of snow for down there, jumping. We had a really big windstorm last night, but it just blew the snow around. So. All right, what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about how to change a dog's anatomy while it's in motion.
Oh, that's a good one.
This is going to be a little heavy, and it's going to be. We were talking about it. We may.
You froze.
We're going to start on all the different things that will change a dog's anatomy, such as top line, outline, movement, everything, while it's in motion. And people don't realize, most people go and just grab a lead, put it on a dog, run it down and back, and, it doesn't work out very well. So I have a dog's head here. We're going to start with lead positions of the dog.
Now, I remember when I was younger, I called you one time about a dog, and it was I wanted him to widen up behind on the down and back. He was too narrow, and you made me change his lead positioning a bit back down his throat so that he pulled into the lead and widened up, and it worked every time. So
I did that.
You did that, man.
Well, son of a
Imagine
gun.
that.
Okay, right here in front of you, folks, is a bronze statue done by Damer Bolte of the greatest Irish setter-headed dog in history, champion Trevelda Telstar.
Allie.
And I was privileged to be able to show this dog and his son, Marquis, whose head was almost as good as this. But this is the greatest. We start off with just a regular slip lead on a dog. Now, can you see this?
Yep.
Okay. The regular slip lead, we're going to do 5 separate positions on just a regular slip lead. Now, this is 1, 2, we drop it down a little bit. 3, we go down a little bit further. 4, we go down a little bit further, and then loose. That's 5 on a slip lead. Now we do the same thing with what I call a side lead, which is like so. It's done with a choke, and it's a side lead, and you have the same 5 positions. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is dead loose. Now, there's another, that is a normal way that you would put on a choke. However, there's times when you need a choke on a dog, but you don't want a lot of pressure, and it's difficult to keep the choke positioned where you want it. You put
that a lot from people.
You put it on backwards. And that way you can relax the pressure, but the chain will not slide. And you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 loose. Now, you have to understand that those lead positions are just the start, because everything we're going to cover now is affected by those lead positions. So let's start off with speed.
All right. Adjust your camera a bit, George. There we go.
Okay. So let's start with speed. With speed, you have slow, medium, and fast at all those different lead positions. So what do we have? We had 15 positions times 3. That's 45 different possible combinations that will affect your dog's gait. Now, the other thing that will affect the dog's gait is the position of your arm. Your arm has to be constant, straight out, 90 degrees to the center of the ring with the elbow locked straight. The minute you pull the dog in close to you, which I see everybody do, will take a dog that has a natural 2-beat stride and they'll go into a 4-beat stride. The reason being, they think you're going to step on them. The 4-beat stride is much more agile, and it's able for them to get out of the way. So you always have your dog, your arm straight out. Now, it can be maybe 1 foot back or 1 foot forward, but is still primarily out towards the center of the ring. Those 3 positions at all those different positions of the lead on the dog, 3 times 45, and that's 100 and some. The next thing that will affect your dog's gait is weight.
Before we get to that, George, can you just explain to the crowd again between 4-beat and 2-beat?
The 4-beat stride means that there's 1 foot on the ground at any given time. And a herding dog at a trot will always do a 4-beat stride, because the herding dog has to be able to be very agile going left, right to herd a dog. But it is not very efficient on straightaway motion. A 2-beat stride, 2 feet are on the ground at any given time, or no feet are on the ground at any given time, as in a flying trot. And so 2 feet on the ground is not very agile left and right, but is very efficient in the straightaway motion of a dog.
So for your down and back.
For the straight down and back, and also going around from the side. If you see a dog that's rocking back and forth in their shoulders, going around the ring from the side, that dog is probably in a 4-beat stride. A 2-beat stride, you will not see any rocking whatsoever. A good handler can take a dog they've never seen before, take them around the ring, and by the time they've gone around the ring one time, are able to adjust that dog and take him out of a 4-beat stride and put him into a 2-beat stride. I've seen you do it.
Probably by accident, or probably after calling you.
But there's just so much that you can do to affect your dog's gait. In my super advanced classes, I went through and documented 1.7 million different possible combinations.
Oh, geez. That sounds overwhelming. I don't know if we should do that.
Okay. Now, as an example, and I brought this up in one of the other podcasts, when I was showing McCammon Marquis, halfway through his career, I felt his gait be a little off, and I was feeling a 4-beat stride rather than a 2-beat stride. My assistant at the time, Doug Holloway, God rest his soul, one of the greats, I had him gait the dog down and back, and all we had to do is drop his head 1/2 inch. And we dropped it 1/2 inch, and he immediately went into a 2-beat stride. But it was because he grew up. All my assistants were the best conditioned assistants in the country because I ran their butts off. And we always, every 2 weeks, the specialist dogs always got reevaluated on their gait. Now, things that can affect the gait is weight. 1 pound heavy, 1 pound light, or even will affect your dog's gait at all those different positions. Temperature, the temperature of the show. All those, if it's hot or if it's cold, if it's 70 degrees, it's different at all those different lead positions, at all those different weights. So in the summertime, we would have our dogs, specialist dogs, about 1/2 pound light, because they would do better in the heat, not quite as heavy. In the winter,
I did the same thing.
Huh?
I did the same thing. I like them lean in the summer. So
yeah. Where'd you learn that?
I don't know. I probably just
Probably learned it from Gary. He was pretty good that way.
Yeah, he was good that way as well. I think it was you, though. So
yeah,
it was you that told me.
Huh?
I think it was you that told me, though.
Oh, really? Okay. But and also, too, think about the grounds that you are gaiting on. Let's say you have normal grass. Okay, you really don't change anything. But let's say the grass is high. If you don't change anything, your dog is going to gait, and the high grass is going to go in between the toes and make him flinch and not gait right. So you want him to lift up and go out further. So you would show him on a loose lead, pull up and out, and he would lift his front over the top of the grass and then come down, and he would not sort of stumble through the grass.
Yep.
If let's say it's rainy and it's slippery, if you show the dog on a tight lead, you immediately put him on a loose lead, because the minute you try to use a tight lead on a dog on slippery floor, he'll freak out and he will definitely go into a 4-beat stride and will not move properly.
Well, that's because he's a bit not panicked, but a bit not right. So he trusts his own balance more than ours.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Also, too, I brought this up before, Moss bow mats are different than Onfrio mats just because of the way they're cleaned. Moss bow mats are put through a high temperature steam clean, and it expands the product. So when a dog or a person walks on them, the foot moves on it. So if you have a dog that's normally on a tight lead, you should put him on a loose lead on an Onfrio mat, and he will respond better to his own sense of balance.
Right.
I used to go down on a Deep South circuit and clean house down there. Also, too, you have to check and see how your dogs are going to react. There was a time, the first year that the Boardwalk Kennel Club show was held at the convention center, was indoor on grass. And this goes back into the 70s. And this was never done before. Well, Dougie and I arrive at the show. We start to exercise the dogs. Well, the ceiling on that was like, 100 foot high. And the way the lights were, the dogs were freaking out. We took those dogs and worked them and walked them around in that environment to see how they were going to gait on that grass in that environment. Our dogs didn't freak out the next day. Other people's dogs went nuts. The following year, we come back, the guy who was taking care of the grass and everything got drunk, forgot to turn the water off, and it was mud.
Oh, geez.
And so I said, Dougie, we got a serious problem here. So we took all those dogs that weren't normally trained for a loose lead. We took them out and retrained them on a loose lead. We were there till 3 o'clock in the morning. The next day, our dogs are there gaiting on a loose lead on the slippery mud. Everybody else's dog is going wacko on the thing. My dogs won 5 groups, and we went best in show. Because we had prepared ourselves for that particular situation. There are also, too, think of your shoes. If you change the shoes that you use, you run differently. When the minute you run differently, that dog knows something's wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
That was one of the things that I was taught by Bob Forsyth. He always wore the same shoes, show shoes that were kept in the tack box. And every morning at the show, he would then put those shoes on. He says, George, he says, you don't try to change shoes or whatever. And I see the same thing with clothes. People don't realize that, for instance, they go to show dogs in the rain, so they use a nylon rain suit. Makes noise, scares the hell out of the dogs.
Well, or at least startles them because they don't know what the heck the sound is.
They don't know what's going on. So, it's, and also, too, I see this, I tried it one time. I saw a good friend of mine, Damer Bolte, who, by the way, Damer is the one who did the Irish Setter bronze head that I have here. Great artist. She wore LL Bean duck boots when it was in the rain. And I said, hey, that looks like that's pretty good. So I go and I ordered LL Bean duck boots. That we get into a rainy situation. I put the suckers on. My dogs freaked out. They said, you ain't running the same. There's something wrong with you. And I said that ain't going to work. So you have to be careful that way. If you notice a good female handlers, the good ones, I'd say my daughter Jane, always wore skirts exactly the same length, never too long or whatever, so it would flap or be different, and always basically in the same material. You have to be careful that material will affect your dog's gait. There is also, too, you have to, at indoor shows, sometimes your dogs are on a rug that's slippery.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get into the old Madison Square Garden, those floors were slippery as hell. And all of these things affects your dog's gait. And you start off with the lead positions on your dog, and also, too, the type of lead. You have the possibility of a narrow choke like this. Now, I had narrow chokes like my nylon chokes. I had a lady in Maine make them for me. And she, I must have had maybe 80 or 90 different choke chains, but they were all different sizes and thicknesses because each dog reacted differently.
Sure.
There was an Irish setter, Travelda, Travelda Call to Fame. Call to Fame? Yeah, that was a big red dog, right? Okay. When I got him, Ted, he was very rambunctious, and Ted was sent him out to an obedience trainer to calm him down. Well, the obedience trainer overworked him with the chain choke. And if you put anything harsh around him, he would freak out and go on his belly. So I had to use a wide nylon choke on that dog, halfway down his neck so that he didn't feel anything, actually all the way down at the very bottom of the neck. I tried him on a Resco all the way down on the neck, and he got out of it in the ring and took off. So I decided I better go with the choke so he wouldn't slip it. But it was all the way down on his shoulders, and I won a bunch of best in shows with the dog. So it's with Resco leads, you can get wide ones, you can get narrow ones. Every dog is different. Take your time, evaluate, and then when during your dog's career, reevaluate every 2 to 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah. I always kept a spare lead in my pocket. If I was, especially had a new dog, I would have a Resco and a choker with me so I could switch if I had to, if I didn't know the dog well enough. So,
well, I also too, I used that. Always kept that lead in my pocket, an extra lead in my pocket. I walked in one time at the Center Irish Specialty up in New York, and the carpet was slicker than owl poop, and that's slick, man. You know, ask any country boy; they'll tell you that's slick stuff. And I'm sitting there, and I've got this Irish setter that. I mean, he slides on rough concrete, let alone on a slippery floor. I didn't know what I was going to do. And so I'm sitting there feeling sorry for myself, and junior showmanship is going on, and this little 12-year-old girl goes in, her dog starts to slide, she takes her lead, folds it, puts it down, puts her dog's hind feet on it. I said, holy shit. Excuse me. And so little girl comes out of the ring. I said, thank you, little girl. You saved my life today. Her father thinks I'm a masher or something. And so I went in, and with an extra lead in my pocket, and I would put it down and put the dog's hind feet on it, and he stood like a rock. We won that specially like bingo. The judge says, George, your dog was the only dog that didn't slide around out there. I said, well, man, when they're made right, they don't move. I gave that same tip to the young man that won best at the garden with the pointer.
Michael.
Huh?
Michael.
And because he came to me and said something about the floor being slippery, and I told him about it. And if you ever get to see the video, you see him putting the lead down and putting the hind feet on there, and Jimmy Moses' shepherd sliding all over the place, and everybody else's dog is sliding all over the place, and he won that thing like a bingo. So,
Michael Solo.
Oh,
he was fabulous.
Michael Solo, a great young man. He had a great hand on a dog. He was, and he was like a sponge. He started showing Brittany, and at the same time, I had a Brittany special that I was showing. It was like glue. He wouldn't leave me alone at his show. He was over there watching what I was doing on the trimming and everything. He just wanted to know, and he finally ended up, after I retired my dog, he started winning. He won a lot of best in shows and whatever. So he was a great guy. He really, really was. Okay, that's enough of my stuff for today.
Well, that was a good one, George. That was a really good one. I enjoy hearing those things. I think I've heard them before, but it was nice being refreshed. So,
well, it's the super advanced class that I did out in Portland. I had 27 professionals took their weekend off to take the class, which is, I mean, I was shocked when I walked in there. Sure. And I saw all these people that I only knew seeing them in magazines, because I didn't get out to California very often. I said, holy mackerel, I better do something right. And but we ended up with 1.7 million different possible combinations. And you have to understand that let's say you put the lead 2 inches down the neck and you change the dog's speed from medium to fast, everything's different. It totally changes everything.
Oh, there's no question. Yeah.
And one of the things that I noticed, being as I got older, I got an inner ear condition. And when I would fly out anywhere to teach a class, the dogs would act like I was drunk. And it was because my balance was a little off.
Your balance was off. Yeah.
And so that's when I started driving to every place. Also, you people have to worry about the dog's mentality on that day. You have to decide whether you're going to take them up to the ring early. My assistants were trained so that they would hand me the dog, come up to the ring with the dog, and they say, he's on today, he's off today, he's this, he's that. Also, too, I watch the local show here. I watched a handler knock off 2 Red Bulls before walking into the group ring, and his dog went absolutely berserk on him in the ring. I mean, his hands were probably shaking like crazy. But, people don't realize. And then you get the other end where people, they got to take a shot of booze before they walk in. And that affects, and people don't realize all those things affect the dog's gait.
Exactly.
Thank you.
All right, George.
Hey,
thank you again.
Stay. How long before you judge at the Garden?
I have 2 weeks almost, I guess, or a week. Yeah, 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's about 2 weeks. I think that's great that you. It's got to be a feather in your cap or something.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm really excited. So.
Well, I'll sit there and watch you on TV and make sure you do things right.
I'm sure.
Okay. Bye.
All right, George. Thanks again.
Yep.
Thanks, George. Great lesson, and we'll see everybody next month.
And this year, with her strong athletic build, her fluid gait, and her confidence in the ring, the Beagle by the name of Miss P became the 9th.
The best in show is the Beagle.
Congrats, Miss P, on winning the 139th Westminster Best in Show.